In the previous video of business finance, we have discussed about debentures, its characteristics or features, what are the merits of issuing the debenture to the debenture holder as well as to the company, and demerits. After that, in the next video, we have discussed about the various types of debentures. In this video, we will discuss about the bond. Whatever the key takeaways from the video would be: definition of bond, its features, who are the parties involved in the bond issuing, and last one, the types of bond. Starting with the definition of the bond. A bond is a written promise under the seal of the company in which company agrees to pay a specified sum of money at a specific or fixed time in the future. Usually it is issued for more than 10 years after the promise is made. The amount is to be paid along with the interest at a fixed rate, payable at fixed intervals along with the interest. That is what is bond, or we can say that a bond is a written and signed promise to pay a certain sum of money at a certain date along with the interest, or after the fulfillment of certain conditions by the company or by the issuer as a loan agreement. That is what is bond. It is one kind of method for issuing the debt for the company, which is usually to be paid at a specific duration. The time usually can be 10 years. It is to be paid along with the interest, and there are future dates or fixed date on which we have to service the interest. Second one would be, what are the features of the bond? The very first feature of the bond, it is a definite promise to pay the principal amount. As we have discussed in the definition, we would pay the principal amount to the bondholder on a specific date along with a definite promise of paying the interest also. On the bond, we have to pay the interest just like we pay on the debentures, we have to pay the interest. Third feature is that it is issued for a specific time, or it has a specific definite life for which we usually pay we usually issue that bonds. For that particular tenure, the bond would be for, say, if suppose as a company A has issued a bond and it would be for 15 years, so it has a definite life. Then there is a clear statement in form of the period that it would be a medium term or long term source of payment, how we are going to repay the bond. There should be or there would be a clear definition of that, how we are going to pay it, whether what would be the form in which we can pay it. For example, when we jump on the types of the bond, we would discuss that it can be redeemed by issuing stocks, it can be redeemed by transferring the amount into the account of bondholder. So at the time of promise, we would make it clear how we are going to redeem it or how we are going to repay it. Then there is a reference to the bond holders for their rights and powers. There would be clear thing what would be the rights and the powers of the bondholder at the time of promise. And lastly, the place of payment of bond is also specified in it. Where we are going to repay the bond or when we are going to repay the bond is already discussed. Where we are going to repay the bond, it is also clearly mentioned in it. Now we will move to the parties involved in the bond issue. The very first party is the corporation or the company or the organization which is going to issue the bond. So a corporation is somehow what an organization desiring to borrow the money from the public by issuing the bond. That is what is the, we can say, first or primary party in the bond issue. Second one is the trustees. Trustees are the person through whom the company deals with the bondholder. Company never deals directly with the bondholder. There is always someone in the middle for dealing with the bondholders with them. So trustees act as a medium for the deal between bondholders and the company. And for that purpose, corporation makes an agreement with the trustees known as trust deed or trust agreement. That is how the company and the bondholders deal with each other, by having the trustees in the middle. Third party or the last party in the bond is the bondholder. Bondholder are the person who gives the loan to the corporation and who has evidence of their participation to receive one or more bonds. The bondholder or the person who has paid the money or who has given money to the company so that the company can borrow the funds, and they are the person who would receive bond as an agreement between company and them as a proof that they have give the debt to the company. These are the three parties which are involved in the bond issue. Then next one is the type or classification of the bond. The very first classification is the convertible bond. The name suggests us it can be converted. Then what is in which we can convert the bond? The very first thing is that the convertible bonds are those bonds which can be converted into the stock at an option of the holder as per the terms and conditions mentioned in the bond agreement. That is the first bond. Second one is the guaranteed bond. Guaranteed bond is the bond in which the bond is guaranteed by the third party, which takes the guarantee of the repayment of the bond along with the interest. That is what is the guaranteed bond. Next one is the deferred interest bond. Deferred interest bond is the bond in which interest is received at the variable interest is received in the starting at very low rate, whereas at the end tenure of the bond the interest rate is quite high. That is what is deferred interest bond. Then is the mortgage or secured bond. The mortgage or secured bond is the bond which is secured or mortgage which is secured by the asset of the companies, usually fixed asset like land, building, furniture, fixture, etc. These bonds have more security as compared to the other form of bond. Next is the unsecured bond. Unsecured bond are those bonds which are not secured by any asset of the company. That is why there is quite risk in issuing unsecured bond, but it is definite that unsecured bond enjoy more rate of interest as compared to the secured bond, considering the risk aspect in it. Next is the variable rate bond. Variable rate bond is based upon the LIBOR interest rate. What do we mean by LIBOR? LIBOR is London Interbank offer rate. As the rate of the LIBOR changes, the rate of the variable rate bond also changes. It depends upon the LIBOR, that is London Interbank offer rate. The next is the zero coupon bond. Zero coupon bonds are those bonds which are issued at less than what we can say face value. Suppose that a bond has face value of ₹100, its issue price under the zero coupon bond would be, issue value would be for say 80, but at the time of redemption it would be redeemed at, redemption value would be 100. That means that the difference between the face value and the issue value, that is ₹20, would be the income for the bondholder in form of interest. Either way you can consider it. In the zero coupon bond, no interest is paid. Instead of that, bond is issued at discounted price, like we have seen. Bond would be issued at 80 rupees, whereas at the time of redemption it would be redeemed at ₹100. That means that this 20 rupees difference of discount would be the income for the bondholder. Last type is the government bond. Many times it can be seen that government has also issued bond for the purpose of raising debt from the public to finance its various activities or infrastructural projects. For that purpose, government issues the bond, which is considered most secured bond, because we know that government would definitely repay the bond with interest along as comparison with the corporate. This is for the bonds. Now we will discuss with the medium-term sources of finance. So in medium-term sources we have three: term loan, leasing and hire purchase. Before getting to these three types of sources, we will start with what is medium term. We have discussed in the earlier videos. So what is long term? Long term is the what is long term source of finance? The source of finance which is usually used by the company for more than 5 years. So when we speak of medium term, its tenure would be 1 to 3 years in between something. When we say to short term, it would be 0 to 1 year. This is the basic difference. The basic difference between long term, short term and medium term is long term sources are usually for more than 5 years, medium term 1 to 5 years. 1 to 5 years. Sorry, I said 3. It is 1 to 5 years, and short term sources 0 to 1 year. That is what is the definition of the sources of finance. In medium term source, it is the source which is used by the company for raising the funds for duration from 1 year to 5 years. So very first unit is term loan. Term loan are those loans which are obtained from financial institutions like commercial banks by the company. Usually term loan is given for a tenure of 5 years by the banks. It is usually financed for the fixed assets like purchasing of the machinery by the bank, and it depends upon the return. On term loan we have to pay the interest as an charge or as a return to the financial institution, which is depending upon the policies of the RBI. What RBI has said in its quarterly policies, which it usually announces. Usually term loans are not preferred by the banks, as on the term loan we have to give the usually term loan are not preferred by the company, as on the term loan, as it is secured in nature, we have to pay, we have to give some security like some asset, fixed asset, and which reduces the financing capacity of the business. Second one is leasing. Leasing is somewhat getting the asset on rent rather than purchasing it. That is what the definition of leasing is. Suppose that if company X needs a machine, it would cost around rupees 50 lakh to the company. So rather than having that much amount of big cash outflow, the company tries to lease the asset. In leasing, what they do, they ask the lessor, who is the owner of the asset, to lease the asset to them, and on which they would pay lease rental on the regular agreed period to the lessor. In leasing, we can easily utilize the asset as we have ownership, but we certainly don't have certain rights, like we don't have the ownership benefits, we cannot enjoy the benefit of depreciation. But definitely, as lease payment are interest deductible, definitely it can be a good option for the company. Next thing is the hire purchase. Hire purchase is somewhat a bit similar to the leasing, but it is not the same, as we can say. In hire purchase, we go to the seller, we express our desire to purchase the asset, we give the down payment to the seller gives the possession for the down payment to us, and on regular intervals we have to pay the installment as we pay in the loan to the seller. After the end of the installment, in hire purchase, the ownership of the asset would be transferred to us only then. So what is hire purchase? Hire purchase in which we get the ownership right immediately, but we get the possession of the asset immediately, but ownership right would be given to us by the seller only when the all installment of the asset, which is pre-agreed tenure and amount, would be received by the seller at that point of time. When the last installment is paid, then only the buyer would get the ownership right. That was for the medium term sources. Now we will start with the short term sources. Short term sources are those sources which are raised by the company for a period up to 1 year. There are in all 7 types of short term sources. We will start with the first one, commercial paper. Commercial paper are the instrument which are used by the highly rated company, which are rated by the credit rating agencies to be issued in the money market. The period usually starts last between commercial paper can be issued between 90 days to 365 days by the only high rated companies known as blue chip companies. The rating agencies like ICRA, CARE, these are the agencies which are responsible for giving the rating to the companies, and that is the criteria for issuing the commercial paper. Second one is the promissory note. Promissory note is a note which is in which a promise is made by the borrower that he is entitled to pay the agreed sum of amount after a fixed tenure along with the interest to the holder of promissory note. Then is the trade credit. Trade credit means when an company purchases its raw material from its supplier, a credit period is allowed by that supplier. It may be for a week or for 15 days. That credit period would be known as trade credit. In that credit period, we are not required to pay the amount of the purchases till that particular fixed period. That fixed period also serves as a source of short-term sources. As a company, we usually get credit period from our creditors. For example, if we have purchased a raw material of rupees 50 lakh from a person, and the credit period lies in the industry for 10 days. That means that up till 10 days you don't need to pay the amount. After the 10 days tenure, definitely on the 11th day you have to pay the amount of purchases to the supplier. But till 10 days we enjoy the benefit of that trade credit. That is very important. And same credit is given by the organizations also to its debtors. For example, after manufacturing the goods and when the goods are finished, as a company we sell it to the distributor. Distributor again enjoys the trade credit period for whatever may be the conditions between company and its debtors. So next is the cash credit limit. In cash credit limit we can understood it by like this, that it is an loan which is lent by the financial institution or bank to the businesses to finance its working capital requirements. Is the cash credit. Cash credit is only hasn't what we can say maturity of 1 year. After the end of 1 year, we need to renew the limit, or we need to again what we can say re-sanction the limit. After the tenure of 1 year, automatically the limit get closed. In cash credit there is an arrangement made in which we don't need to pay the interest on the whole amount of the credit. Instead of that, suppose that if we have a cash credit limit of 50 lakhs, out of which we have utilized 10 lakhs rupees, so interest would be payable on this 10 lakh only. Not like other loan facility or credit facility in which whenever we withdraw the 1 rupee from our loan amount, we have to pay interest on all. But in cash credit limit, arrangement is made for the working capital financing, so interest will be charged on the withdrawn amount only. First thing. Second thing, this 10 lakh would be withdrawn for us for 15 days. So the interest would be charged on these 15 days only. Whenever we will deposit the amount of interest in the account, whenever we will deposit the amount in the account back, the interest would be automatically for that fixed tenure for which we have withdrawn the amount. That is what is cash credit limit. Next is the bank overdraft. This facility is usually given to the current account holders of the bank, in which the account holder is entitled to withdraw the excess amount from the account by the overdraft facility, for which we has to pay an interest which is usually higher as compared to the general conditions. But bank usually allow this facility to very few customers which are having a bulk transaction in the bank and have a good credit in the bank. For example, if suppose that a current account holder who has to pay rupees 5 lakh immediately a certain payment to its creditor, and he has rupees 4,50,000 in the account, definitely he can request the branch manager or bank to allow the bank overdraft of 50,000, and he would deposit in for say 5 days, 10 days, whatever the period agreed between both the parties. So that is what is bank overdraft. Then next is the bill discounting. Bill discounting is a technique in which a debtor issues a bill to the supplier, and supplier is entitled to get that bill in the bank for discounting. That is known as bill discounting. In bill discounting, bank usually discount the bill against the payment. For example, a customer has withdrawn a bill of rupees 1 lakh which is to be discounted with the bank. He goes to the bank, and say to the bank, I have to discount this bill. In after discounting, the organization would get for say 99,000 rupees. The bill would get mature for say after 60 days. For say today is the today is the 1st October on which I have gone to bank for discounting the bill. The bill was of rupees 1 lakh. After 60 days, it means that it would get mature on the 29th of November. So I would request the bank to discount it. Bank would discount it for 99,000. That 1,000 differential amount would be the income for the bank. And if bill get bounced or bill get rejected, then as an organization we have to pay rupees 1 lakh to the bank, and again we have to receive the amount from our debtor. That is what is bill discounting. Last one is the public deposit. Public deposit are the deposit which are accepted by the company from the public by giving an advertisement in the paper that the company is the company is appealing to the public. They can have the deposit here with the company. Usually company deposit can be of short term source or medium term source depending upon the period of the deposit for which company is accepting the deposit. The deposit interest rate are usually higher than that of the bank deposit rate for the purpose of attracting the public towards the company public deposit. But due to the some mischievous, or we can say wrong practices in the past, the norms of public accepting the public deposit are made quite restrictive and stringent by the SEBI as well as RBI, so that there would be less or no fraudulent practices in the case of public deposit. Thank you.